Hey y'all, welcome to Fixin to Garden, Georgia, Zone 8B. This is an episode of In Full Bloom for June of 2026, where I will be showing you what's new to be blooming this month and what is still blooming. So y'all join me as we take a garden tour. All right, we're going to start in this corner as we always do, where we have the Superbena Cobalt blooming. I never got around to cutting it back, and y'all, it's just blooming its head off once again in this nice border. And as you can see, this Atlas rose here has been cut back and is already re-blooming. Y'all, look at those beautiful blooms. And there's some buds that show what's coming. The other Atlas roses aren't blooming quite yet, but they do have colorful buds. They're giving us a hint of what's to come. And y'all, I don't know if you know that the other word for Japanese beetle in the South is a June bug. And that's because they love roses and it's June. So I am not surprised to see any Japanese beetles on my roses. So I'll have to come back and get some soapy water to put that guy in. And where there's one, there's many, right? So again, just a little peek happening. But y'all, you'd have to go back to, I believe it's March, in order to see these plants in their full bloom glory. And as we're coming up, we have the Stokes aster. This is color wheel, and it's for the most part gone over. It has one bloom left on it. If you've missed previous episodes, this color wheel variety starts out white when it blooms, and it goes through a light purple and then a dark purple before it's gone out of bloom. Really cool plant. And all around it here we have Augusta lavender heliotrope, which just keeps reblooming and reblooming, y'all. It looks so fabulous. And our tried and true white gaura, or whirling butterflies, are floating in the air back there. Such an amazing plant. And y'all, this is our Shasta double file viburnum, and it did its first ever full bloom this year in the early spring. And I don't know if y'all can tell because of the shade. Let me see if I can get in the sun. Y'all, the bracts on this plant where the blooms were at are now a stunning red. See right here in the sun. Y'all, look at that. That's amazing. So who says you have to have blooms in order to have interest? Bracts where the blooms were can be just as interesting sometimes. So this plant is now green and red instead of green and white. It would like a little bit more shade here in Zone 8B, Georgia, but it seems to be doing pretty well. All right, we have some more of our white gaura over here. And speaking of non-bloom color, I want to take y'all back here. This is our double play doozy spirea, and I trimmed it back after it bloomed. And y'all, look at all of that foliage color. Beautiful, kind of a burgundy color. And it's got just a couple of bloom spots coming up. So that's the color of our flowers, kind of a hot pink, as some of y'all have suggested. But the foliage of the new growth is just, oh my goodness, it's so pretty. Love this plant. It is deciduous. That would be the only thing that would make it better, is if it were evergreen. But hey, you can't have everything, right? All right, and here we have our drift of gardenias. I don't know the particular variety. There's a couple of blooms still on it. It is a reblooming double bloom gardenia. I'd say it gets a little bit taller than wide. And the scent is amazing. And here in the front, We have, this is little lavender butterfly bush. We have 3 of these. And they're just kind of picking up right now, so they don't look the best. And beside it here, we have the Pugster blue butterfly bush. And y'all, this one in particular right here, oh my goodness, let me see if I can get around. Oh, that is just, oh, so pretty. And of course, because the blooms are darker blue, they maybe don't stand out quite as much as the little lavender, or as we'll see in a minute, the amethyst. Here's the one that we put in just a couple of weeks ago to replace the one that didn't really recover from the bug infestation of last year. The other ones seem to be doing a little bit better. I think I'm going to come in and cut back these sticks that, of course, I think are dead, and it's coming from the base. We have got snails, slugs, and earwigs, which are right now going to town on our plants. My goal is to come and get some sluggo to put out. All right, back here in the back, y'all, new to bloom is the Blue Fortune Agastache. Y'all, these I just love. I grew them last year and only 2 came back. You can see them. They're puttering along. And so I went back to the grower and got a whole bunch more to fill back in, because y'all, once they start blooming, y'all will see they do not stop. And they just, I love the height, the kind of spikiness to them. And most of all, the pollinators love them. Do want to point out, this is our hot sauce Japanese maple that we got from Mr. Maple. And it's got a little bit of new growth here at the top. That beautiful red is popping against the dark fence and the green of the hydrangeas behind it. And we just have it in a pot because we were trying to find a place for it. If you caught that earlier, I had to move it in a little bit more shade because I think it was getting a little sunburn. It seems to like this spot though. As y'all can see, our hot and cold kniphofia here, the orange ombre down to a white, is still blooming. And if you caught my video, I deadheaded all of the spent blooms, and I'll continue to have to do that throughout the season, but it's still putting on some new, look like little bottle rockets, or I guess a poker, why it's called red hot poker as well. All right, so here in the back we have a different kind of white gaura. I'm not sure the difference between it and the other, because the other we just looked at, the tag said white gaura. But these don't get quite as tall, they're a little bit more full. Of course, we have our Ascot rainbow spurge or euphorbia. And this is one I don't really mention too much. It's a Radiance Abelia. It's just kind of a tried and true. It just continues to have its color. I love the red stems. That gives a little extra pizzazz. And it's variegated. Even though with the amount of shade that it gets, the variegation isn't as pronounced as it probably would be in full sun. And just behind it here we have some more Blue Fortune Agastache. Again, it had one that wintered over, and then I added the rest of them. And back behind it, this is the black and blue Salvia, which is really kind of struggling. Typically, it's a really florific bloomer. Sorry, there's a bee trying to get to the Agastache. Let me go around. It's usually a pretty florific bloomer, and between the, looks like the slug damage, it just really isn't doing much. So I'm surprised by that. Maybe it has to do with the drought that we had in the spring. It loves the heat though, so I'm sure it'll pick up growing pretty soon. And this is the reason why I wanted to film this episode now and not later in the month, because y'all look, this is the Let's Dance Skyview hydrangea from Proven Winners. I have never seen a more perfect looking hydrangea than that right there. It is a cross between a macrophylla and a serrata. So it is a reblooming hydrangea. We just got this last year, so this is really our first full season of it. And I could not be more pleased, y'all. Beautiful, beautiful color. And the blooms are just so perfect. And the backdrop to it here is the Incredible hydrangea, which is Hydrangea arborescens. That is just a striking combo of the Skyview being backed by the Incredible. Beside it is our globe blue spruce. Back here we have some crested ferns that we're trying out. This is the Winecraft Black Smokebush. Y'all, we've had a lot of problems with this plant. We moved it here and it seems to like a little bit more shade, and we cut it back because it was just 3 big stems. We were trying to get some fullness to it, but it's not really growing too much this year. We have this one Vision in Red Astilbe. Y'all, Astilbe doesn't typically like to be grown in Georgia. It's too hot for it. And so I think we planted 3, and this was the only one that made it back, but it put on a bloom. So we're just kind of experimenting with that plant, and we'll see if it does anything else. And here we have the dressed up ball gown heuchera from Proven Winners. It's putting on some blooms. Kind of insignificant. This is Roseanne geranium. It's got a couple of blooms. It's new for this year. I'm hoping it'll fill in all this area underneath this maple. And this is the Truffula Pink gomphrena. And I have a row of it going in the front of this bed. The rabbits or squirrels or something has really loved breaking off pieces of this plant. It probably would look a lot more full if it wasn't for those pests. Here in the back we have the Double Delight wedding gown, or dancing snow. Y'all, I love the blooms on this hydrangea. All of my hydrangeas have a little bit different attribute. This one's got like, it looks like little rose petals or rose blooms, kind of like the gardenia actually, with it's got 3 or 4 layers to the petal, and then a whole bunch of mini ones grouped together. It does look like a little bit of a wedding bouquet. Our unidentified coleus that I picked up at a bargain sale is looking great, and the little seedlings are starting to come along. This one in particular, this is Pineapple Surprise. As you can see, there's a little bit of variegation on it, little drops of purple. So I think it'll come in with this other and really look good. All right. right, and right here in the front, this is Platinum Beauty Lamandra. It's an evergreen plant, and it made it through our winter. I wasn't sure it was going to, because it's a higher zone plant. Doesn't really like the cold. And then here we have Puckster Amethyst Butterfly Bush. I just cut this one back a couple weeks ago, so it's just putting on some new buds. A lot of these things we just cut back, so there's not a lot blooming right this second of the plants that I've already showed you, but I'm making sure to catch the new things like the Skyview Hydrangea. All right, the white here, this is Senorita Blanca Cleome. All right, and as we pan over here to the right, we have some more Agastache. This is the Black Adder. It's a little bit darker than the Blue Fortune, and I believe the Blue Fortune is supposed to get just a little bit taller. Even though since these are wintered over from last year, they're supposed to get 3 foot tall, and I would say they're all of 4 feet. And if you hadn't seen our video on how to make this little DIY planter that has a fountain in it, I'll put the link at the end, so be sure to check that one out next. In the back here we have Miss Molly Butterfly Bush. It's different than all of the dwarf ones I've shown you this far because it gets 5 to 6 feet tall. We just got it last year though, so it's not quite there yet. But hopefully it'll put up some substantial height to it this year. Our Sensation honeysuckle has maybe a couple of blooms, but it's mostly out of bloom right now. And this is Denim and Lace Russian Sage, doing really well this year. And in front of those is Echinacea purpurea, just the straight variety that I grew from seed last year. Looking really nice. These get about 3 foot tall as well. We have another Platinum Beauty Lamandra. This over here is the Firefly Peach Sky Yarrow. Looking really beautiful. We have one plant that's kind of struggling along back in the back. And though the foliage looks terrible on this Julia Child Rose standard, it is an abundance of blooms at the top where all the new growth has been. Hopefully y'all can see that. I hate that the foliage is struggling the way that it is. And I can't decide. Part of me wants to pull all of our roses out, and particularly this one, and put in something different. But I just can't, not quite yet. I gotta keep trying and see if we can help get a jump on it, though that's what I was trying to do this year with the black spot. All right, here in the front is the Magic White Wands Veronica. We planted some additional ones this year to make this drift a little bit bigger and to replace some of the ones that had not done well over the winter. And I don't know if y'all can see the area, this area in our garden is like a pollinator haven. There are just bees on everything. The blooms are actually moving as the bees are working each and every strand. And back behind the white wands is Powwow White Echinacea. And I skipped over, but it still has its little white flower This is the Pearl Glam Beauty Berry. Our lemon coral. If y'all saw at the beginning of the year, we added a few more because they didn't winter over altogether. We had a pretty cold winter this year, and it was dry, so they probably just didn't get enough care because I'm not spending as much time out in the yard in the winter. But it's looking really nice. Cut back this is the upscale lavender taffeta bee balm. We have one bloom that has snuck out. The rest of it is starting to grow back and will be in bloom before you know it. Here we have some more white wands, veronica. Again, I can't help but plant more of this plant because it really does well for the most part. It stays in bloom really long, and the pollinators love it. This is a pink gaura, and I think I bought them all at different times. But this one in the front's a little bit more bright than the blooms of the one in the back. But they're not really in bloom so much right now, but it looks like it won't be too long. And I wanted to show y'all, I don't really always highlight our evergreens, but I wanted to show y'all this one. This is the Glow Pop Japanese Holly. Just the tips are bright chartreuse or yellow. And we have another one on the other side of the swing. And the reason why I want to show y'all is this. See, there's not as much color on this one, which it's doing better than it was. The place that we bought this one at was fully shaded where they kept their plants at, so it didn't have very much color at all on it. And this side of our swing gets a little bit more shade than the other. So if you're gonna get this plant, the Glow Pop Japanese Maple, make sure that you have it in the full sun if you want it to have all of its color that it's supposed to have. And this is our Royal Candles Veronica. You see it looks very different in its growth habit compared to the white ones. And y'all, behind it, this has got to be our showstopper this month. So last month it was the hot and cold kniphofia. This month, I believe, it is the meant to be Queen Nectararine Agastache and the meant to be Royal Raspberry Agastache. Y'all, look at that. It is just a solid block of color. So beautiful. And y'all look here in the front. This is the Summer Jewels White Salvia. And I grew these from seed. They're starting to put on some blooms. I guess they like their spot. And this is our Superbena Cobalt that was new for this year. Looking so beautiful. Our opening act blush phlox got a cut back, and it is trying to rebloom. Hopefully by the next in full bloom, it'll be in full bloom. This is our Bloomstruck hydrangea from Endless Summer. It looks like it's struggling a little bit, But the blooms are so beautiful. And y'all, I don't know if you remember, we cut back at the same time of the phlox, we cut back this unplugged white salvia because it flopped over after we had a really heavy rain. And it's already putting on more blooms. And then once it starts blooming, it will continue to look like this until frost. Again, don't be afraid to cut your perennials back. They'll just keep blooming and they won't be quite as floppy. All right, so this is the Archangel Angelonia. And behind it is our other incredible hydrangea. I don't know if y'all can tell the difference, again, that sun can make. So amazing. Look at this bloom right here, y'all. Here's my hand. I mean, I can put my hand 5 and 6 times over on these blooms. They're just so big. But the one that was back by the bench in the shade garden doesn't get, its blooms aren't quite as big. But if this can handle, it has full sun, it does start getting some relief, probably about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. In Georgia 8B though, that's not bad. And here we have our Cool Jazz Super Petunia. Again, more Archangel Angelonia. This is Super Petunia Vista Jazzberry. I didn't mention it, but the Cool Jazz is a Vista as well, meaning that they get about 3 feet wide, 2 feet tall. Pretty massive. Back here, this is the Rockin' Deep Purple Salvia. We have 2 of those back there that are hopefully going to peep up above our knee wall there so we can see the hummingbirds come visit, because it's a big hummingbird attractor. This is Super Petunia Pink Tiara. We got those in gallons, if y'all don't remember, or haven't been with me. And I'm beginning to think the gallons maybe were too big for this urn, or these urns. They're hard to keep watered. This is the Prince Tut grass with it, and some Diamond Frost, and another brand. If y'all remember, we're doing a little challenge to see which one does better of the euphorbia. Thank y'all for joining us for this episode of In Full Bloom. We'll determine if we're going to have another video for June, depending on what the plants do. If we have some new ones to show you, I'll be sure to hop on here, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything in full bloom. And we'll see you real soon.